The Galactic Council chamber floated in orbit around Avaris Prime, a neutral world where the oldest species in the galaxy met to discuss matters of peace and trade. Today, the massive circular room was filled with delegates from 40 different worlds. They sat in their specialized seats, some breathing methane, others requiring water tanks, and a few existing as pure energy beings contained in crystal spheres. At the center of the chamber stood Ambassador Velrus of the Velthani people. His three-fingered hands trembled as he activated the holographic display. Images filled the air above the council floor. Burning cities, screaming civilians, ships tearing through atmosphere like locusts. The Kravath swarm had come to Velthani space, and they were consuming everything. "Honored council members," Velrus said, his voice breaking. "This is the fourth colony we have lost in 2 years. The Kravath do not negotiate. They do not stop. They simply consume and move forward. Our military cannot hold them back. We have lost 60% of our fleet." The hologram showed massive bioorganic ships, each one the size of a small moon. They pulsed with sickly green light as they extended tentacles down to planetary surfaces. Where the tentacles touched, nothing remained. Not buildings, not forests, not even soil. Just bare rock. Council member Thraxus of the Yulani Confederation spoke first. His kind resembled floating jellyfish with crystalline structures for brains. "The Kravath have existed for millennia. Every species that has fought them has been destroyed. We sympathize with your plight, Ambassador Velrus, but the mathematics are clear. Any intervention would result in the loss of our own forces without stopping the swarm." "Surely there must be something," Velrus pleaded. "Our children are dying. Our culture, our history, everything we are will be erased." One by one, the council members voted. The result was always the same: expressions of sympathy, offers of refugee assistance, but no military aid. No one wanted to face the Kravath. The swarm had been moving through the galaxy for 10,000 years, and nothing had ever stopped them. They simply avoided the strongest civilizations and consumed the weaker ones. In the observation gallery, Commander Jin Wu sat perfectly still. He was human, one of the newest species to join the galactic community. His species had only made first contact 15 years ago, and they were still learning the rules of this vast civilization. Next to him sat Lieutenant Su Jin, her eyes fixed on the holographic display of destruction. "They are just going to let them die," Su Jin whispered in Korean. Jin Wu nodded slowly. His dark eyes never left the Velthani ambassador, who had collapsed to his knees in the center of the chamber. Around the room, alien delegates looked away. Some felt shame. Most felt relief that it was not their worlds being consumed. Jin Wu stood up. The movement was quiet, but in the silence of the chamber, every eye turned toward him. Humans were still a curiosity. Most species found them unsettling. They came from what the galactic classification system called a Class 10 Deathworld, a planet so hostile that merely landing on its surface would kill most galactic citizens within hours. "I request permission to speak," Jin Wu said. His voice was calm, but it carried across the chamber. Counselor Thraxus rotated his crystalline brain structure, which was his species' version of a frown. "The humans wish to address the council? This is most irregular. You are observers, not full members." "I understand," Jin Wu replied, "but I have information relevant to this discussion." After a long pause, the council granted permission. Jin Wu walked down to the chamber floor. He stood next to the kneeling Veltani ambassador and looked up at the council members arranged in their circular tiers. "Humanity will help," he said simply. The chamber erupted in noise. Various species made their versions of shocked sounds. Thraxus pulsed with angry red light. "Commander, do you understand what you are saying? The Kravath swarm has destroyed civilizations millions of years older than yours. Humanity has been in space for barely 2 decades. You have 12 worlds and a fleet of perhaps 300 ships. The Kravath number in the thousands." Jin Wu did not flinch. "I understand the numbers, but my people know something about fighting against impossible odds. We will help." This is madness, another council member said. We cannot allow a young species to throw away their lives in a futile gesture. With respect, counselor, you cannot stop us, Jinwoo replied. We are not asking for permission. We are informing you of our decision. The Velthani ambassador looked up at Jinwoo with all six of his eyes. Hope and disbelief warred on his alien features. Why would you do this? Our species has no alliance with yours. We have nothing to offer in trade. You gain nothing from helping us. Jinwoo knelt down to meet the ambassador at eye level. On my world, we have an old saying, the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing. We will not do nothing. He stood and turned to leave the chamber. Sujin fell into step beside him. Behind them, the council chamber dissolved into arguments. Some species called it bravery, others called it stupidity. The Velthani ambassador wept with relief. As they walked down the corridor leading away from the chamber, Sujin spoke quietly. Do you think we can actually win? Jinwoo was silent for a long moment. I do not know, but I know we have to try. These council species, they evolved on peaceful worlds. They have rules for war, limits on what they will do. The Kravath do not follow those rules. And neither will we, Sujin finished. Neither will we, Jinwoo agreed. They reached the docking bay where their shuttle waited. As they prepared to return to their ship, Ambassador Velrus came running down the corridor. His robes flowed behind him, and his breathing was labored. Commander Jinwoo, he gasped, I must know. Do you truly believe your people can stop the swarm? Jinwoo looked at the desperate alien. He thought about Earth, his homeworld. A planet with hurricanes that could level cities, earthquakes that could split continents, diseases that killed billions before humanity learned to fight them, predators that hunted humans for millions of years. His people had survived all of that. They had not just survived, they had conquered their world and reached for the stars. Ambassador, Jinwoo said, my people come from a world that has tried to kill us every single day since we first stood upright. We learned to fight against nature itself. We learned to never give up, never surrender, and never accept defeat. The Kravath are terrifying, but they have never faced a species from a death world. They are about to learn what that means. The Velthani ambassador stood in the docking bay long after the human shuttle had departed. Around him, other species whispered and wondered. The humans were either the bravest species in the galaxy or the most foolish. Time would tell which. High above, the Kravath swarm continued its slow advance toward the next Velthani colony. The hive mind that controlled the swarm was not capable of true thought, but if it were, it might have noticed the unusual activity in human space. Ships gathering, weapons loading, an entire species preparing for war. But the Kravath did not notice. They had consumed thousands of species. What was one more? The war room deep beneath Seoul was built into solid bedrock. It had survived 3 world wars and countless smaller conflicts. Now it hosted the most important military meeting in human history. Fleet Admiral Hunsik stood at the head of a long table surrounded by holographic displays showing star charts, fleet positions, and intelligence reports on the Kravath swarm. Let us be clear about what we are facing, Hunsik said. His voice was rough from 40 years of military service. The Kravath are not like any enemy we have fought before. They do not have governments to negotiate with. They do not have supply lines to cut. They are a hive mind spread across thousands of bioorganic ships. They consume everything and move on. General Mira tapped her tablet, and new images filled the air. Our xenobiology teams have analyzed the footage from Velthani space. The Kravath ships are living organisms. They can regenerate damage. They do not need fuel in the traditional sense. They feed on the matter they consume from planets. How does the galaxy normally fight them? Asked Admiral Dong-hyun, commander of the Pacific Fleet. Intelligence Director Hai Wan pulled up footage from previous Kravath encounters. They do not fight them. They run. Look at these battle recordings from the Fernelli Defense Force, one of the largest militaries in the Council. They use energy weapons designed to disable, not destroy. They follow rules of engagement that limit collateral damage. When the Kravath swarm them, their weapons simply cannot kill fast enough. The council species do not understand war, General Mira said quietly. They evolved on garden worlds where resources were plentiful. War for them is about territory disputes and trade routes. They have rules, honor codes. They cannot comprehend total war. Hyun-sik nodded grimly. But we can. The room fell silent. Everyone present knew what he meant. Humanity had climbed from the mud of Earth through millions of years of struggle. They fought saber-toothed tigers in ice ages. They fought plagues that killed half their population. They fought each other in wars so brutal that entire generations were wiped out. They learned to fight without rules when survival was at stake. Director Hae-won, what are our advantages? Hyun-sik asked. Hae-won stood and walked around the table. Kinetic weapons. The galactic species use energy-based weapons almost exclusively. Lasers, plasma, particle beams, all designed to disable shields and systems. We use railguns that fire solid metal slugs at relativistic speeds. The Kravith bioships can regenerate, but they cannot regenerate fast enough when you punch a hole completely through them. Nuclear weapons, Admiral Dong-hyun added. The Council banned them 2,000 years ago as barbaric. We still have them, thousands of them. The radiation will poison the Kravith's biological regeneration. And our trump card, General Mira said, pulling up classified files. Biological warfare. Our scientists have been studying the Kravith samples that the Velthani provided. We can engineer viruses that attack their cellular structure, weapons that the galaxy never imagined because they considered them too cruel. This is not about cruelty, Hyun-sik said firmly. This is about survival. The Velthani are dying. If we do nothing, they will be erased from existence. We have the power to help, so we will help. Over the next 3 weeks, humanity mobilized. 200 warships gathered near the Sol system. The fleet included everything from massive carriers to small destroyers. Each ship was retrofitted with the latest weapons technology. Railguns that could fire a slug through a planet, missiles carrying nuclear warheads, specialized weapons that the galaxy would find horrifying. Lieutenant Taemin stood on the bridge of the carrier KSS Indomitable and watched through the view screen as the fleet assembled. He was young, only 25, but his family had a long military tradition. His grandfather fought in the Korean conflicts. His mother served in the Mars Colonial Defense. Now it was his turn. Nervous? Asked his friend, Ensign Jae-ho. Terrified, Taemin admitted. I keep thinking about the footage. Those ships are massive. There are thousands of them. Jae-ho shrugged. My grandfather used to say that size does not matter in a fight. What matters is whether you are willing to do what your enemy will not. And what is that? Whatever it takes to win. In the Marine barracks, Captain Yuna addressed her battalion. 200 Marines in powered combat armor stood at attention. These were not normal soldiers. They were specialists trained for boarding actions, something no galactic military did. Why board an enemy ship when you could disable it from a distance? Listen up, Yuna said, her voice amplified by the helmet speakers. We all know what the Council species think of boarding actions. They think it is primitive, wasteful, stupid to risk soldiers in close combat. You know what I think? The Marines waited. I think they are soft, Yuna continued. They have never had to fight an enemy that would not quit. They have never had to look death in the face and say, not today. We have. Our species has done that every single day since we first walked upright. The Kravith think they are predators. They are about to learn what real predators look like. The Marines roared their approval. On Earth, the Velthani representatives watched the preparations with growing unease. Ambassador Velrus stood with his aide, Kelnis, observing human soldiers loading weapons onto transport shuttles. The weapons were strange. Some looked like simple metal tubes. Others were clearly chemical containers. What are those? Kelnis asked, pointing at soldiers carrying large cylindrical devices. A human logistics officer overheard. Flamethrowers. We use them for clearing enclosed spaces. Flamethrowers? Velrus repeated. You set your enemies on fire? When necessary, the officer said casually, then walked away. Kelnis looked at Velrus with all 6 eyes wide. What have we brought to our aid? Velrus watched as a nuclear warhead was loaded onto a missile rack. The humans handling it laughed and joked with each other. They showed no fear of the weapon that could destroy cities. They showed no hesitation about what they were preparing to do. "I do not know," Velrus admitted, "but I am grateful they are on our side." In the command center, Jin Woo reviewed the final mission briefings with Su Jin. The plan was straightforward. Jump into the Thelris system where the Kraveth were currently attacking a Velthani colony. Engage the swarm. Test human weapons and tactics. Learn everything they could about the enemy. Intel suggests there are about 300 Kraveth ships at Thelris, Su Jin said. We will be outnumbered. The Council species are always outnumbered when they fight the Kraveth, Jin Woo replied. That is why they lose. But being outnumbered only matters if your enemy can use those numbers effectively. We will see how well the swarm coordinates when we start killing them faster than they can regenerate. Fleet Admiral Hyun Sik's face appeared on the communication screen. Commander Jin Woo, the fleet is ready. We jump in 6 hours. All ships report full combat readiness. Weapons loaded. Crews briefed. We are as ready as we will ever be. Jin Woo nodded. Admiral, the Council will be watching. They think we are fools rushing to our deaths. Some of them hope we succeed. Others hope we fail so they can say they were right. Either way, we are about to show the galaxy what humans can do. Understood, Commander. All ships will follow your lead. Try to bring them home. I will do my best, sir. As the communication ended, Su Jin turned to Jin Woo. Do you really think we can win? Jin Woo looked out at the assembled fleet. 200 ships crewed by humans from Earth, Mars, Europa, and a dozen colony worlds. Each crew member knew the risks. Each one volunteered anyway. That was humanity. When someone needed help, they answered. Even if it meant flying into hell itself. We do not have a choice, Jin Woo said simply. The Velthani are counting on us. More than that, we need to show the galaxy that the Kraveth can be stopped. If we do not, the swarm will keep consuming. Eventually, they will reach human space. Better to fight them now, on our terms. The clock counted down. 6 hours until the jump. 6 hours until humanity went to war against an enemy that had destroyed civilizations for 10,000 years. The Deathworld was about to show the galaxy what evolution in hell produced. The human fleet emerged from FTL at the edge of the Thelris system in a flash of distorted space. 200 warships materialized in perfect formation, their weapons already charged and targeting systems active. On the bridge of the KSS Seoul, Commander Jin Woo watched the tactical display populate with hostile contacts. Contact, Lieutenant Su Jin announced, scanning 3,200 Kraveth bioships. Correction, they are adjusting formation. 300 vessels breaking off to intercept us. Jin Woo studied the enemy. The Kraveth ships looked like something from a nightmare. Massive organic structures that pulsed with sickly bioluminescent light. Some resembled twisted sea creatures. Others looked like tumors grown to impossible size. All of them were covered in sensors, weapons ports, and the massive tentacles they use to harvest planets. They think 300 is enough, Admiral Dong Hyun said from his command ship. His voice came through crystal clear on the fleet channel. They are used to Council militaries running at the first sign of contact. Then they are in for a surprise, Jin Woo replied. All ships, battle formation Delta, weapons free. Show them what happens when they meet a species that fights back. The Kraveth vessels accelerated toward the human fleet. They moved with unnatural coordination, the hive mind controlling each ship like fingers on a hand. At 50,000 kilometers, they opened fire. Bioplasma weapons launched from organic cannons. The projectiles were living things, each one seeking its target with primitive intelligence. Incoming, Su Jin warned. Tracking 4,000 individual projectiles. Point defense, engage, Jin Woo ordered calmly. The human ships erupted with defensive fire. Rapid-fire railguns created a wall of metal slugs moving at tremendous velocity. Each slug was tiny, just a few grams of dense material, but moving at such speed that they carried enormous kinetic energy. The bioplasma projectiles disintegrated by the hundreds as they met the defensive screen. Those that got through hit human shields and armor. The living weapons tried to burn through the hull plating. They failed. Human ships were designed to survive in the hard vacuum of space, to withstand temperatures that ranged from absolute zero to the heat of a star. A little biological acid was not going to hurt them. All ships, return fire, Jinwoo commanded. The human fleet answered with thunder. Railguns fired solid slugs at a significant fraction of light speed. The projectiles crossed the distance in seconds and struck the Kravith bioships with devastating force. The organic vessels had thick hides that could regenerate damage. But regeneration took time. The railgun slugs did not give them that time. A slug punched through a Kravith ship from front to back, creating a tunnel 20 meters wide. The bioship tried to seal the wound, organic material flowing to close the gap. Then the second slug hit, and the third, and the fourth. The coordinated fire shredded the vessel faster than it could heal. Target destroyed, Sujin reported. Confirmed kill. The ship is breaking apart. All across the battlefield, the same scene repeated. The Kravith had never faced weapons like this. Energy weapons they could regenerate from. But solid kinetic impacts that tore through their entire structure? Their biology had no answer for that. The hive mind adapted. The Kravith ships changed formation, spreading out to reduce the effectiveness of the railgun fire. They accelerated to maximum speed, trying to close the distance where their bioweapons would be more effective. They are learning, Admiral Dong-hyun observed, closing to 15,000 kilometers. Let them come, Jinwoo said. Launch missiles. The human ships fired their secondary weapons. Missiles streaked across space, each one guided by sophisticated targeting computers. The Kravith tried to shoot them down, but the missiles were too fast, too maneuverable. They struck home, and nuclear fire bloomed against the black of space. The Kravith ships caught in the detonations writhed in agony. The radiation poisoned their biological systems. Where energy weapons would have been absorbed and dissipated, the nuclear blast destroyed the cellular structure the bioships depended on. Wounded vessels tried to regenerate, but the radiation prevented proper healing. Mutations formed. Systems failed. 15 targets destroyed, Sujin said. 8 more critically damaged. But the Kravith kept coming. The hive mind felt no fear, no hesitation. It simply calculated that overwhelming numbers would eventually triumph. More bioships joined the attack. The 300 became 400, then 500. Contact with the main swarm, Jinwoo said, watching as thousands more Kravith vessels began moving toward the human fleet. They are committing everything. All ships, prepare for boarding actions. Captain Yuna had been waiting for those words. Her Marine battalion was already assembled in the launch bays, sealed in their powered armor. Each suit was a masterpiece of human engineering. Powered servos that multiplied human strength. Armor that could withstand small arms fire and vacuum. Sealed environmental systems that could handle anything from toxic atmospheres to hard radiation. Marines, this is it, Yuna said over the battalion channel. Remember your training. The Kravith ships are living organisms. Everything inside will try to kill you. The walls will try to eat you. The atmosphere will be toxic. You will face biological defenses we have never seen before. Do not hesitate. Do not show mercy. These things destroyed entire civilizations. Send them a message they will never forget. The damaged Kravith ships tried to retreat to the main swarm for protection. That was their fatal mistake. Human boarding pods launched from the fleet, magnetic clamps locking onto the wounded bioships. Cutting lasers burned through the organic hulls, and the Marines went in. Yuna was first through the breach. Her helmet display showed a nightmare landscape of pulsing organic corridors. The walls were alive, covered in sensors and defensive mechanisms. The atmosphere analysis showed a toxic mix of chemicals that would kill an unprotected human in seconds. Sealed environment confirmed, Yuna said. Move in, stay in formation. The Marines advanced through the alien ship. Biodefenses activated immediately. Acid sprayed from hidden glands in the walls. The Marines' armor held. Tentacles whipped out to grab them. The Marines cut them apart with plasma weapons. Antibody organisms the size of dogs rushed at them. The Marines burned them with flamethrowers. For the Kravith hive mind, it was a new experience. Species did not invade its ships. They fought from a distance, safely protected in their own vessels. These humans walked through its bioships like they owned them, destroying everything in their path. Yuna's squad reached what they identified as a neural cluster, a concentration of nerve tissue that controlled this section of the ship. She armed a specialized charge, a weapon designed to spread rapidly through organic matter, and placed it on the pulsing mass. "Fire in the hole," she announced, and the Marines retreated. The charge detonated, sending engineered viruses throughout the ship's neural network. The Kravith vessel convulsed. Its biological systems turned against themselves, attacking their own tissue. Within minutes, the entire ship was dead. "Boarding action successful," Yuna reported. "One bioship eliminated, moving to the next target." Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. The Kravith threw everything at the human fleet. More ships, more bioweapons, larger organisms designed to attach to human vessels and tear them apart. The humans answered each escalation with brutal efficiency. Railguns kept firing, missiles kept launching, Marines kept boarding, and the Kravith kept dying. Lieutenant Taman worked in damage control aboard the KSS Indomitable. A lucky hit from a bioweapon had breached the hull near the engine section. His team rushed through the corridors, carrying emergency sealant and repair equipment. "Hull breach, Deck 12, Taman said into his comm. "We are on it." They reached the breach, a gaping hole 3 meters wide where the bioweapon had eaten through the armor. Air was rushing out into space. 3 crew members were trapped on the other side, their sections sealed by emergency bulkheads. "Get them out," Taman ordered. His team worked quickly, applying sealant while wearing emergency suits. The hole fought back. The bioweapon had left living residue that tried to continue consuming the ship. Timon grabbed a plasma cutter and burned it away, the organic matter screaming as it died. "Hull sealed," one of his team reported, opening bulkheads. The trapped crew members stumbled through, gasping. One of them gripped Taman's shoulder. "Thank you. I thought we were dead." "Not today," Taman replied. "Get to medical. We have more breaches to fix." On the Seoul's bridge, Jin Woo watched the tactical display. The Kravith were breaking. For the first time in their 10,000-year existence, they were losing a battle. The hive mind did something it had never done before. It retreated. The surviving Kravith ships disengaged and fled toward the outer system. The human fleet let them go. They had achieved their objective. They had proven that the swarm could be beaten. "Damage report," Jinwoo requested. 12 ships with significant damage, Sujin replied. 47 casualties, 16 dead. We destroyed over 200 Kravith vessels. The remainder are fleeing. Jinwoo allowed himself a small smile. "Send a message to Fleet Admiral Hyun-sik. First engagement successful. The Kravith can be killed." Below them, on the surface of Thelris IV, the Velthani colonists emerged from their shelters. They looked up at the sky where the human fleet hung in orbit, victorious. They had been saved by these strange, violent aliens from a world that tried to kill them every day. And across the galaxy, the Galactic Council watched the battle recordings in stunned silence. The impossible had happened. The Kravith had been defeated. The Galactic Council reconvened in emergency session 3 days after the Battle of Thelris IV. The chamber was filled beyond capacity. Every species wanted to witness the discussion about the humans who had done the impossible. Holographic displays showed the battle recordings on repeat, each viewing revealing new horrors about how humans waged war. Counselor Thraxus pulsed with agitated colors. "We must address what we have witnessed. The human military employed weapons that have been banned by galactic law for thousands of years. Nuclear devices, biological warfare, boarding actions with flamethrowers. This is barbarism on a scale we have not seen since the ancient wars." Ambassador Velrus stood to respond, his voice steady despite his exhaustion. "With respect, Counselor, those barbaric weapons saved my people. The Kravith were consuming our colonies. You offered sympathy but no action. The humans offered action. At what cost?" another council member demanded. "They have shown the galaxy that total warfare is possible. What happens when they turn those weapons against other species?" Before Velrus could answer, a holographic projection activated at the center of the chamber. Fleet Admiral Hyun-sik appeared, his image transmitted from Earth. He wore his full military uniform, medals from 3 wars displayed on his chest. His expression was neutral, but his eyes were hard. "Honorable council members," Hyun-sik began, "I understand your concerns. You want to know how humanity wages war. You want to know if we are a threat. Allow me to explain something you do not understand. It is called the Deathworld Doctrine." The council chamber fell silent. Hyun-sik continued. "Your species evolved on worlds that were kind to you. Abundant food, stable climates, few natural predators. War for you is about territory, resources, political power. You have rules because you can afford rules. Humans do not have that luxury." Images filled the air around his projection. Earth in all its terrible beauty. Hurricanes that could destroy cities, volcanoes that could darken the sky for years, earthquakes that split continents, diseases that killed billions, predators that hunted humans for millions of years. "My species evolved in hell," Hyun-sik said flatly. "Everything on our world tried to kill us. The weather, the animals, the diseases, even the plants. We survived by becoming more adaptable, more intelligent, and more ruthless than everything that wanted us dead. We did not develop rules for warfare because nature has no rules. You either survive or you die." He pulled up footage from the Battle of Thelris IV, the railgun strikes, the nuclear detonations, the boarding actions. "You call these weapons barbaric. We call them necessary. The Kravith swarm does not follow your rules. They do not disable your ships and take prisoners. They consume everything. To fight an enemy like that, you must be willing to do what they will not expect. You must be willing to finish the fight." General Mira appeared alongside Hyun-sik's projection. "Let me address the biological weapons you find so disturbing. Yes, we engineered viruses that attack Kravith cellular structure. Do you know why? Because we have spent thousands of years fighting diseases on our own world. We understand biological systems in ways you do not. That knowledge can heal or it can harm. Against the Kravith, we chose to harm." Admiral Dong-hyun joined them. "The nuclear weapons, banned by your laws as too destructive. On Earth, we used them twice in war and saw the devastation they caused. We swore to never use them against each other again. But against an enemy that regenerates? An enemy that feels no pain? Nuclear weapons deny them the ability to heal. They level the battlefield." The council members listened in growing discomfort. This was not how civilized species discussed warfare. There was no talk of honor, no discussion of limiting casualties, no concern about following established protocols. "You ask if we are a threat," Hyun-sik said, his tone sharp. "Here is your answer. We will not attack unless attacked. We will honor our agreements. We will follow your laws within reason. But if you threaten humanity or our allies, we will respond with every weapon at our disposal. We will not fight fair. We will fight to win. That is the Deathworld Doctrine." The transmission ended. The council chamber erupted in debate. Some species called for sanctions against humanity. Others, especially those with vulnerable borders, began considering alliance proposals. The galaxy had changed. There was now a species willing to wage total war, and no one knew what that would mean for the future. Meanwhile, the war continued. The Kravith swarm had never retreated before. The hive mind did not understand defeat. It only understood consumption and expansion. After analyzing the defeat at Thelris IV, it made a decision. If 300 ships were not enough, it would send 5,000. The Battle of Velcor Station became the largest space engagement in recorded galactic history. The station was a massive Velthani military outpost, one of the last major defensive positions before their core worlds. 5,000 Kravith bioships converged on it, a swarm so vast that it blocked out the stars. The human fleet was already waiting. General Mira coordinated the defense from the station itself, while Admiral Dong-hyun commanded the mobile fleet elements. They had learned from Thelris IV. They had adapted. "They are coming in formation," Lieutenant Soo-jin reported from her analysis station. "The hive mind has changed tactics. They are keeping their ships closer together, overlapping their bioshields." "Then we change our tactics too," Commander Jinwoo replied. He opened a fleet-wide channel. All ships execute false retreat pattern. Make them think they are winning. The human fleet began pulling back, firing as they went, but apparently overwhelmed by the massive Kravath numbers. The hive mind saw victory. It pressed the attack, pushing deeper into the defensive perimeter, exactly as the humans wanted. Now, Jinwu ordered, spring the trap. Hidden among the asteroids surrounding Velcor Station were autonomous weapon platforms, each one loaded with antimatter warheads. They activated simultaneously, firing into the concentrated Kravath formation. The antimatter detonations were visible from light years away. Pure energy conversion. Matter meeting antimatter and releasing power equivalent to small suns. Hundreds of Kravath ships simply ceased to exist. The biovessels nearby were caught in the radiation waves, their organic systems cooking from the inside. The hive mind reeled from the loss. It had never experienced this level of destruction. Second wave, advance, General Mira commanded from the station. Fresh human ships emerged from FTL, having timed their arrival perfectly. They caught the Kravath from behind, creating a killing zone with the station at one end and the mobile fleet at the other. The Kravath tried to adapt again. Large bioships spawned smaller organisms, living fighters that swarmed the human vessels. Each one was barely 10 meters long but packed with bioweapons. They moved with insect-like coordination, attacking in waves of thousands. Lieutenant Taman watched from the Indomitable as the swarm approached. Point defense cannot target them all. There are too many. Then we use the backup plan, his captain said grimly. Launch the kamikaze drones. Autonomous drones equipped with just enough intelligence to identify targets and ram them streaked out from the human ships. Each drone carried a small antimatter charge. They met the Kravath biofighters in the space between the fleets and detonated. The explosions created a barrier of pure energy that the biofighters could not cross. Captain Yuna led another boarding action, this time targeting one of the massive Kravath command ships. These were the vessels that coordinated entire sections of the swarm, direct extensions of the hive mind's will. If they could take one out, they could disrupt the Kravath coordination. Her battalion breached the command ship's hull and immediately encountered resistance unlike anything they had faced before. The entire ship was a weapon. The walls sprayed acid. The floor became quicksand-like organic material that tried to consume them. The air itself was poisonous at levels that would dissolve unprotected flesh in seconds. Stay together, Yuna ordered. Use the plasma cutters on anything that moves. They fought through corridor after corridor of living nightmare. Marines fell, their suits breached by attacks they never saw coming. But they kept advancing, because that was what humans did. They pushed forward, no matter the cost. Yuna reached the neural center, a massive brain-like structure that pulsed with bioluminescent light. She could almost feel the hive mind's attention focusing on her. Good. While it was focused here, it was not coordinating the battle. She placed the largest viral bomb her team carried on the neural center and activated it. All teams, extract. This ship is going critical. They ran. Behind them, the engineered virus spread through the command ship systems like wildfire. The hive mind screamed, a psychic wail that some humans reported feeling as a pressure behind their eyes. The command ship died, and with it, the coordination of 2,000 Kravath vessels. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it ended, 3,000 Kravath bioships were destroyed. The human fleet had lost 28 vessels and 2,000 crew members. It was the bloodiest engagement humanity had fought since leaving Earth. But they won. In the aftermath, Intelligence Director Haywan made the breakthrough they needed. By analyzing the dying neural tissue from the command ship, she discovered something remarkable. The hive mind was not distributed evenly. There was a center, a core intelligence that controlled everything. A massive biomoon hidden in an uncharted system. If we destroy that, Haywan explained to the command staff, we destroy the entire swarm. Every Kravath ship will die simultaneously. Where is it? Jinwu asked. Haywan pulled up star charts. Here, protected by 10,000 ships and sensor arrays that can detect any fleet approaching. It is the most heavily defended location in the galaxy. Jinwu studied the data. Then we do not send a fleet. We send one ship, A stealth insertion. That is suicide, Admiral Dong Hyun said. Probably, Jin Woo agreed. But it is also our only chance to end this war. Who volunteers? Every hand in the room went up. The Deathworld had trained them well. When survival required it, humans would walk into hell itself and dare the devil to stop them. The KSS Ghost was not a warship. It was a knife in the dark. Built using experimental stealth technology, it was designed for one purpose, to go where no one else could. Captain Yuna stood on its small bridge and watched her hand-picked crew of 50 prepare for what would likely be their final mission. "Status report," she said quietly. Lieutenant Su Jin worked at the navigation console. She had transferred from the Sol specifically for this mission. "Stealth systems optimal. Sensor baffles active. By every measure we can take, we are invisible." "Invisibility will not be enough," said Commander Jin Woo. He had insisted on leading the ground team personally. When the admirals tried to stop him, he reminded them that he had started this war by volunteering humanity's help. He would finish it the same way. The plan was insane. The Ghost would travel to the Kravith Nexus, disguised as a dead bioship. They would drift through the sensor perimeter, attach to the biomoon's surface, and deploy a strike team to reach the core intelligence. Once there, they would detonate a quantum destabilizer, a weapon so powerful it would tear apart molecular bonds at the subatomic level. The Nexus would be destroyed, and with it, every Kravith ship in the galaxy, assuming they survived long enough to reach the core, assuming the weapon worked, assuming a lot of things that were far from certain. The Ghost launched from Velcor Station under cover of a training exercise. No one except the highest command knew their true destination. If they failed, if the Kravith captured them and learned what humanity was attempting, the swarm would relocate its core and the opportunity would be lost forever. They traveled for 3 weeks through deep space, following coordinates that Intelligence Director Haewon had extracted from the dying command ship. The Kravith Nexus existed in a system that was deliberately omitted from all galactic star charts. A place so remote that space traffic never came near it. When they finally arrived, the sight took their breath away. The bio-moon was massive, easily twice the size of Earth's moon. It pulsed with sickly green light, covered in neural tissue and organic sensors. Around it, thousands of Kravith bioships patrolled in perfect formation. The hive mind's heart, protected by an army. "Beginning approach," Yuna said. "All hands, silent running. No transmissions, no active sensors, no unnecessary power usage. We are a Ghost." They had brought a genuine Kravith corpse ship with them, one of the vessels they had destroyed at Velcor Station. The Ghost attached itself inside the dead bioship's hull, using the larger vessel as camouflage. Then they drifted toward the perimeter. The Kravith sensors swept over them. Once, twice, the Ghost's crew held their breath. If the sensors detected them, 5,000 bioships would converge and that would be the end. But the sensors passed them by. The dead bioship registered as exactly what it appeared to be. Battle damage, drifting debris, nothing important. The hive mind was intelligent, but it was also arrogant. It had never been infiltrated before. The concept of stealth was alien to it. They drifted for 6 hours before reaching the bio-moon's surface. The Ghost detached from its camouflage and used minimal thrusters to maneuver to a valley between two massive neural ridges. They landed softly, the ship's systems powering down to bare minimum. Jin Woo assembled his strike team. 30 Marines in powered armor, each one carrying enough firepower to level a building. They also carried the quantum destabilizer, a device the size of a coffin that required 4 people to move. It was heavy, awkward, and absolutely necessary. "Remember the plan," Jin Woo said. "We go in fast and hard. The Nexus will know we are here the moment we breach the surface. We will have maybe an hour before every Kravith ship in the system converges on our position. That is our window. Get to the core. Plant the bomb. Get out." "And if we cannot get out?" asked one of the Marines. Jin Woo looked at him. "Then we make sure the bomb detonates anyway. The mission succeeds, even if we do not." They exited the Ghost through a belly hatch, stepping onto the bio-moon's surface. It was like walking on living flesh. The ground pulsed beneath their boots. Neural tissue stretched in every direction, pulsing with bioluminescent signals as the hive mind communicated with its fleet. "There," Lieutenant Sujin said, pointing at a sphincter-like opening 200 meters away. "That should lead into the deeper neural structures." They ran. The quantum destabilizer bounced on its carrier frame, the four Marines struggling with its weight even with powered armor. Behind them, Yuna and a rear guard watched for pursuit. They reached the opening and forced it wide. The sphincter tried to close on them, but plasma cutters kept it open long enough for the team to slip through. They descended into the biomoon's interior. The corridors were living nightmares. Walls that breathed. Floors that tried to digest their boots. Antibody organisms the size of humans that attacked on sight. The Marines fought through everything, their weapons carving paths through organic matter that tried to heal closed behind them. "Contact with the hive mind," Sujin warned. "It knows we are here. The entire nexus is activating defenses." The corridors began to collapse. Neural tissue swelled, trying to crush the invaders. Acid rained from ceiling glands. Tentacles whipped out from wall cavities. The Marines lost people. A woman named Bo-Ra was pulled into a wall that opened like a mouth and closed on her. A man named Quan took a direct hit from an acid spray that melted through his helmet seal. They kept pushing forward, because that was what humans did. Jinwoo led the way, his tactical display showing a path toward the core that Haewon had mapped from her analysis. They were close now, maybe 500 meters. They could feel the hive mind's presence growing stronger, a pressure in their minds like an approaching storm. They lost more people. A sergeant named Sang-ho stayed behind to hold a corridor against a wave of antibody organisms. Lieutenant Tae-min, who had volunteered for the mission despite his young age, took multiple wounds while covering a retreat. They sealed him in emergency foam and kept moving. "Core chamber ahead," Jinwoo announced. "Final push." They breached into a cavern so vast it could have held a city. At its center was the hive mind's true form, a brain the size of a stadium, pulsing with millions of neural connections. Around it floated smaller brain masses, each one controlling different aspects of the swarm. This was the Kravith's soul, if such a thing could be said to have one. The hive mind spoke directly into their minds, not in words but in pure concept. It offered peace. It offered to leave Velthani space. It offered anything if they would just stop. "You should have thought of that before you started consuming civilizations," Jinwoo replied out loud. He armed the quantum destabilizer and set the timer for 5 minutes. Enough time to retreat. Barely. "All teams, extract," he ordered. "Move, move, move." They ran. The entire bio-moon convulsed around them, the hive mind throwing every defense it had at the retreating humans. The corridors became death traps. More Marines fell. A corporal named Ji-won sacrificed herself to hold open a closing passage. A private named Young-soo stayed behind with a broken leg, firing his weapon until the organic matter overwhelmed him. Captain Yuna reached the surface with Jinwoo and 12 other survivors. Behind them, the bio-moon was tearing itself apart, the hive mind's panic causing system-wide failures. The Ghost's engines fired, pulling away from the surface just as Kravith bioships began converging on their position. 20 seconds to detonation, Sujin said, her voice tight. "We are not far enough away." "We are as far as we are going to get," Yuna replied. "All hands, brace for shockwave." The quantum destabilizer activated. Reality itself seemed to scream. The bio-moon's core simply ceased to exist, its molecular bonds torn apart at the quantum level. The destruction spread outward in a wave, consuming the entire nexus in seconds. And across the galaxy, every Kravith ship died simultaneously. The hive mind that controlled them was gone. Without its guiding intelligence, the bioships simply stopped functioning. Thousands of vessels became floating corpses, drifting in the void. The Ghost's shields failed. Hull plating buckled. Fires broke out across 3 decks. But Yuna kept them flying, pushing the damaged ship to its limits. They escaped the Nexus system and jumped to FTL before the Kravith sensor arrays could lock onto them. 18 of the 50 crew members survived. Jin Woo was among them, though he had taken injuries that would require months of recovery. Lieutenant Su Jin had lost her left arm below the elbow. Captain Yuna would carry scars from plasma burns for the rest of her life, but they had succeeded. The Galactic Council held a memorial service for the human dead. 12,000 humans had died in the war against the Kravith. The Velthani erected monuments on every one of their worlds, each one inscribed with the names of the fallen. They would never forget the Deathworlders who came when they pleaded for help. Fleet Admiral Hyun Sik gave the final address. He stood before the assembled species of the galaxy, his uniform perfect, his expression somber. "We did not want this war," he said. "We did not seek glory or conquest. We helped because we were asked, because the Veltani needed us, because standing by and doing nothing was not something we could accept." He paused, looking out at the council members who had once refused to intervene. "But understand this, we have shown the galaxy what humans are capable of when we fight. We have weapons that terrify you, tactics that disturb you, a willingness to pay prices that you consider too high. We won this war, but it cost us dearly. 12,000 of our people died. Thousands more carry wounds they will never fully heal from. Some of you fear us now. Some of you think we are dangerous. You are right to think so. We are dangerous. We come from a world that spent 4 billion years trying to kill us, and we are still here. We learned lessons that your peaceful garden worlds never taught you. We learned that sometimes survival means being willing to do terrible things. But we also learned something else. We learned that strength means nothing if you do not use it to protect those who cannot protect themselves. So yes, we are dangerous, but we are dangerous to those who threaten peace, who consume civilizations, who prey on the weak. To our friends and allies, we are the shield that stands between you and the darkness." The council chamber was silent. No one knew what to say. Humanity had saved the Velthani, but in doing so, they had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Death World had descended, and nothing would ever be the same. Ambassador Velrus approached Jin Woo after the ceremony, his 6 eyes bright with tears. "Thank you. Those words are not enough, but they are all I have. Thank you for saving my people." Jin Woo nodded slowly, leaning on a cane while his injuries healed. "We did what we had to do. What anyone should have done. But no one else did," Velrus replied. "Only you. Only the Deathworlders." Jin Woo looked up at the stars, thinking of the humans who would never see them again. Thinking of Lieutenant Taemin, who survived but would never walk without a limp. Thinking of Captain Yuna, who would command ships for decades to come but would wake from nightmares of organic corridors. Thinking of all of them. "The price of help was paid in blood," he said quietly. "Ours. Remember that. Remember what it cost us to answer your plea. And remember that when humanity asks for help in return, we will expect the same courage we showed you." The galaxy remembered. When Deathworlders descended, they brought salvation and terror in equal measure, and the stars would never forget.